Hello, Liang. So you'll recognize this controller, this flow controller and timer, just like the ones you have on your machines. You can also see that I have already removed the underpowered fuse that we need to take out of yours. Everything else here is the same. I have it unplugged. And so the first thing I want to do is remove these 4 screws. That one, that one, that one, and that one. So I'm going to do that real fast. Okay, so I've gone ahead and removed those screws. And now the face that we want to remove still won't come off the unit because we actually next have to remove these knobs. Okay? And they're really easy to remove. They'll pull right off once you loosen a little screw that's in there. So what I would recommend, so that you know where to put the knobs back on, turn them all the way counterclockwise. So if you're over here somewhere, just go ahead and turn it back all the way so that you know you can put them back on in the correct position. So turn everything all the way to 1, 1, and 0. Okay? Then you'll come up here and you'll notice that on those little knobs, if I can get a picture of it, there you are. So, you see that hole? See that hole? There we go. So they're all about in the same position now. So what you want to do next is take this wrench. It's a 1/16 Allen wrench, and I'll send it to you. Sorry if you can't see it very well. And I found that if you take the right angle end, where is it? Where are we at here? There we are. Okay. So if you take this end down here and put it in the hole, like on that one, you just kind of feel around until it goes in. There. Then just turn it a little bit. You can actually get the whole thing in there. You can do it the long way too. But you gotta loosen the screw in there enough that you can pull it right off. There we go. So there's one. Now you see, you'll be doing it on the flow controller outside. Of course you can hear the rain falling. I'm outside of my barn and I've got it mounted, clamped to my table so that it's in a vertical position just like yours will be. So you should be able to look down in here, find these little holes, and remove the knobs. Then the face will come off. So let me finish that, okay? Okay, so now I've got the knobs off and the face is ready to be pulled out. So I've already done this a couple of times and I can tell you that the hardest part of this whole process is getting the face out properly, or getting it out. But I'm going to tell you, it's not that bad, because it just turns out that this top right corner seems to be a spot where you need to start. So if you and you won't have that hole to use either, so I won't do that. So let me show you, okay? Let's see here. So pull a corner out, okay? See that I used that Allen wrench to pull a corner out, and then pull down, and then kind of give it a little twist, however you can do it, because it will come out. Alright, and see, it can be a little bit stubborn also. So, I'm going to have to find somewhere to put my phone down so I can show you how to do this without making a problem for yourself, like I'm doing here. You see, so, I guess I won't stop rolling the film since I got it out. But that should show you, since you're not holding the camera when you're doing this, that it's entirely possible to get this guy off. Okay? So you can pull this face off. And once you have done so, here's what you'll see. Okay? There's the back. There's your counter. There's a potentiometer for adjusting the flow rate. You don't have to do anything with that. So you can kind of just set this up here. Of course, you're going to have to also remove the fuse on yours, which turns out I've still got this one sitting here. But you just hold on to the nuts on the back and then you should be able to unscrew them, okay? So if you can get that off. And you'll also notice that it says, let me see here. Yeah. It's got a 1. Well, you won't be able to see it. Oh, there we go. There's a 1 and a 2. Prong 1 and prong 2, right? So prong 1 is your line. Prong 2 is the load. And the reason I tell you that is because if you go back and you look at the wires for your fuse clips, you'll see that one is bigger than the other. One is thicker. One is a thicker wire. If I can find them. Sorry. Here's the wheel to my tractor. So you'll see that one of these wires, that looks like the thicker one right there. Just from me looking at my camera. That looks like the thicker one. That looks like the thinner one. And indeed, I look now and that's the case. So the thicker one is thicker because it's going straight to the power source, the plug. This smaller one is smaller because it'll trip that fuse when too much electricity goes through it, like the problem we're having. And these are just underrated. These electronics are not going to suffer with the 12 amps or so that the motor requires. So we shouldn't have any problem, but I'm going to walk you through this here. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take the new fuse, okay? So this is 15 amps, and I've got that screwed on there right now. So see, it screws off. And the reason I mentioned the line and load to you is because on this new fuse, you'll see one prong is labeled line, the other is labeled load. So you'll want to put that thicker wire on the line side, because that's, like I said, that's the 110, 115, 125 volts AC coming in. What's going out, that's the load. Okay, so that's what the smaller wire goes to. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to hook the fuse up real fast. Okay, so hold on. Okay, so now I've got that fuse in place, and you'll see that I screwed that little plastic disc down after I had put the fuse through, of course. That's holding it there, kind of. It's not a very tight fit, but it'll work for now. You'll also notice that before I took off the clips, I labeled them 1 and 2 from the original fuse, right? 1 and 2. So I went ahead and labeled them. You'll notice also that similarly to how the lettering is on that side and the 1 is down, that's how I put this one back in. The lettering is on the right side and the line is number 1. So now what we have to do is put it back in there, which shouldn't be too difficult. Now we have something to hold on to here in the front. Don't worry about it moving around, and you can push it back in too. I think that top right corner is a great place to start with removing the face and putting it back in. So you see it'll slip in there. Then you just kind of push from here, push inward, and then boom, you're in, right? So get that where it should be, get the fuse where it should be, kind of, and get this in here. And so there we are. See that? We're back in business almost. Almost back in business. I know the fuse doesn't look pretty right now, but we'll take care of it. So now, let's go back to the little knobs and just, look at the inside of it. You want the screw to go against the flat side. So like right here. See how that's kind of flat? It's not circular. You'll see it better in person, but you can see there that it's kind of a 90-degree angle and not circular at that point. See that? So that's what your screw goes against. So just like that. See? And you just tighten it, of course. Do all 3. And I'll get with you in a minute. So now in the process of putting those knobs back on, and they're ready to go, everything's good. This last one was kind of hard to get the wrench into the screw because the fuse was hanging out. It was like hanging out here somewhere, it was hanging out. So I pushed it in and pushed it up a little bit, and it kind of sat in that spot right there. So that's a pretty good spot for it, So now all that's left is to push this against and put the other screws back in. So hold on. Okay, so now I've got those screws back in. You'll find that no matter where you start, it may be difficult to get like this one or this one in the right spot, but if you stand up and you can actually pull on these to get the holes, to get the plate to line up with the holes. Once you've got the knobs back on, you can kind of do this, push back to the right so you can get the holes to line up. It's not too difficult to do, and there you go, you're ready to go. Then you can plug it back in and see what happens. So hold on a minute.